Kenny Golladay is a guy whose talent I think everyone's kind of come around on. I was little lukewarm on him for a while, but now I'm completely sold on the guy as a legit wide receiver one, a producing wide receiver, like the guy you got to stop. But when you go to the Giants, it's kind of like the Jets, right?
Mm-hmm. When you got Jason Garrett on the sidelines with all you can do is clap like a little bitch, just doing absolutely nothing. I mean, the worst possible play caller. I don't know how this guy still has a job. They were second worst in yards, second worst in points in the league. Just hideous all around. And somehow they
just make you angry. Aren't you just like, why isn't my phone ringing at least a little bit?
Yes, exactly.
Why would you look, I would give you a shot before I cycled through Jason Garrett like 6 times.
Right? Like anybody. I'd give anybody a shot to call plays other than Jason Garrett. Hideous. Like absolutely awful retreat. Like I get continuity benefits a team mostly, but why would you want to continue something that just
bad continuity though? Like, exactly. Oh well, we're gonna keep the same bad coach because we want to remain bad?
Exactly.
Because that's consistency for you? That's so stupid.
Right? Awful stuff. So, I mean, that's the reason why this can't be a win. You cannot consider Kenny Golladay a win because Jason Garrett's calling the play, plus you go from Matt Stafford to Daniel Jones, and that should not ever be considered an upgrade by anybody. But you did allude to the fact Golladay is like an alpha. I mean,
they're really good.
He is an alpha. There was just 2 years ago, he led the NFL in touchdown catches with 11, 65 receptions, 100, nearly 1,200 yards. This guy has had alpha wide receiver one seasons. He has that ability. I mean, ridiculous contested catch rate, 54.2% of his 24 contested targets. He came down with like literally, 50-50 balls become almost 60-40 balls with this guy. And there's so many other stats that play into his favor in terms of, the third most contested catches in the last 3 years, the third most vertical targets and all that good stuff. In deep receptions, 7th in air yards per target, 9th in receiving yards. I mean, there's lots to talk about and love about Kenny Golladay, but I don't think you need me to sell you on Kenny Galladay's ability. It's, can that ability be maximized in the Giants situation? We know Jason Garrett blows, although I will say there is a history. This was way back in the day when the last time he was a play caller was 2007 to 2012. He even though he was the head coach of the Cowboys, he was not calling plays for a while there. But those 5 years he was, and his wide receiver ones were beasts. Now, there's some great talent there. Terrell Owens, 20.5 fantasy points per game, wide receiver 3. T.O. again, 14.8, wide receiver 13. Miles Austin, mediocre talent, 17.4, wide receiver 8. 14.4, wide receiver 23. Some dude named Laurent Robinson averaged 14.5 fantasy points, wide receiver 16. And then obviously we know Dez was a monster, 19 fantasy points per game, wide receiver 3. So all of his wide receiver ones have been top 20 or better. Top pretty solid production until last year, but he didn't really have an alpha. So maybe this was the thing that Garrett truly needs. I don't think so. I'm not trying to give him a pass, but maybe it's like his offense just thrives on being a funnel magnet to these alphas. And clearly Kenny Golladay is a just funnel type of receiver. Daniel Jones was also 3rd in deep passer rating, 4th in contested catch throws. So, I mean, he has the ability to do this. I just still doubt the fact that the clapper over there, Jason Garrett, is going to maximize either Daniel Jones or Kenny Golladay. There is a track record back in the day, though. Maybe that was more about Romo. Definitely was more about Romo than it was Jason Garrett. But there's like enough here in terms of Galladay's own talent, the past history with Garrett and his wide receiver ones, Daniel Jones's flashes with some great deep throws. There's enough here that's like, it's not a clear loss that we could just erase Kenny Golladay, but it's also clearly not a win when you go from Stafford, when you go from an offense that could chuck to this scheme right now.
All right.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.